Salam Sejahtera, ladies and gentlemen. My name is John Chan, and I'm very happy to be here, right, on a special invitation from UiTM Puncak Alam to share with you some of my thoughts on the future of travel, as well as the travel trends that will impact us, right, with the increasingly lessening of restrictions from the COVID-19 pandemic. Okay, now, as we all know, since March 18, Malaysia has been impacted by the MCO, the ECO, the CMCO, and now we have the latest recovery MCO. Okay, now, what does it mean, ladies and gentlemen, for the travelers, the expectations of stakeholders, for example, the airline industry, the hotel accommodation industry, the tourist attraction industry, the restaurants, the entertainment outlets, etc. Now, going forward, let's examine the key concept of the new normal. Now, I would like every one of you to put on your thinking cap and to ask yourself this question: what exactly is the new normal? Is the new normal simply all about wearing face masks, PPE, right, protective gear, social distancing, and sanitizing our hands regularly? Now, I don't think so. You see, ladies and gentlemen, we have to look at the inside, okay, of the travelers, the consumers. Now, we ourselves are consumers. No doubt we have to be safe, we have to practice hygiene, etc. But does it mean that the demand for travel will be lessened just because of the COVID-19 pandemic? In my opinion, right, many people out there, and some of you inside here, are waiting to travel because many of us have been suffering from what you call withdrawal symptoms, okay? And the future of travel portends, okay, that the implications for a revival of travel demand, right, will come back, right, as foreign governments, Malaysian government lifts the restrictions on our borders, and as you all know, domestic tourism is now very much encouraged, right, as they for to take off so that you revive the economy. The SMEs, the stakeholders will be able to improve in their business operations. Now, we also look at the context of staffing, we look at the context of workforce. Okay, now does it mean, right, that there will be no employment opportunities for people who are graduating from the universities, higher institutions, higher education institutions, etc.? No. What we need to do is to, as I mentioned earlier, psych ourselves up to look at what will be the expectations of travelers like ourselves, right? Of course, safety, hygiene conditions are the two most important consideration. But what about the experiences, right? I can foresee that the experiences will no longer be like before, where you have mass gathering of people, right? Things will be lessened. The impact will definitely be reduced in terms of many people getting together, etc. All right, so this is very important, ladies and gentlemen. Now, so far, what I've spoken about is on the supply side, as I mentioned, the stakeholders, etc. Okay, now I'm going to move on to what you call the demand side. Okay, demand side meaning now I will go, because of the interest of time, I will be talking about, right, how people will look at travel when they're going overseas or local. All right, now let's analyze, what is happening currently to many of the places deemed to be unsafe. For example, you have cruise travel, casinos, places of worship, okay, and mass gathering of people in the seminar rooms, conferences, and venues, etc. Now, invariably, all these will be allowed to operate, but probably not on a full scale, right? Because the curve, as they mentioned, is not totally flattened yet, and we do not know when the curve will be flattened, because the researchers, the medical scientists, the professors, etc., are looking for the vaccine that will be able to how should I say, control, first of all, the spread of the COVID-19 virus. And eventually there will be a cure. But I will not be Nostradamus, or I cannot say that when all this will be lifted. Okay, so no one can tell. However, I'm sure at the back of us there's advanced research, things being done, to reduce the impact of the spread of the pandemic to other people in the world. All right, so now it's very important to analyze the context of how people will be traveling. As I mentioned earlier on, right now the demand right now for mass gathering of people would be less. Right, even in the last 8 years, 10 years, you can see FIT gaining increasingly importance, right? Not compared to group travel, right? Compared to I would say the event industry, right? Where you have 2,000, 4,000, maybe 10,000 people attending a conference for a week. Okay, but I can foresee that the travel basics will come back, right? And what are the travel basics? If you have to study, right now, your academic journals, your research books, you'll find from your library there are very thick publications on what travel used to be in the early 60s, the 70s, and in the 80s. Now, I foresee, ladies and gentlemen, that the comeback right now would be a new renaissance, meaning that people will be getting back to the previous lifestyle. Okay, and what is the previous lifestyle? Community-based tourism, rural tourism, where people will want to have real free and easy. They will not want to have an itinerary that is packed from 7 a.m. right to 9 p.m. at night. Okay, meaning that they will be more leisurely paced. All right, they will decide more or less where they want to go, when they want to go, and how much they're prepared to pay for it. Okay, so earlier on when I mentioned supply side, right, I had no chance to talk about how costings, how itinerary will be planned. Okay, now it's no longer cut and paste, it's going to be, I would say, customized, personalized itinerary. Okay, travel suppliers, okay, will be met with this demand from people who are consuming the products. When they check into a hotel, first of all, is it safe? What are the practices? What are the safety and hygiene standards being in place? What are the signs that tell them that where are the places that have been hygienically addressed, clean, and sanitized, so that they will feel safe, right? What is left in their mind is how to enjoy themselves, where they like to go for attractive sports, food, etc. Okay, that, ladies and gentlemen, is part of what I mentioned about the new normal, right? The new normal, which is also termed as future of travel, would actually define many of the behavioral characteristics of people. It's no longer like what we thought before, right? Whereby when moment they arrive, they haven't even unpacked their bags. They like to go to a roadside what they call cafe. They like to go to a shopping center to shop until they drop and they forgot to come back to the hotels, hotel rooms, etc. So it's very important, ladies and for us to understand, okay, how do we cater to and meet the demands of this kind of travel segment. Okay, so I will not go further because these are things that we are examining, and I'd like to stop here, right? And I'd like to thank you for the opportunity of this sharing, and yeah, very sharing. Thank you.